Hey everyone, fascinating chat today with the CEO of Smartling, a guy who knows a thing or two about turning hype into real enterprise ROI. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing great, Evan. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Before we dive in, perhaps introduce yourself and how would you describe Smartling these days?
Sure. Well, to start, my name is Bryan Murphy. I'm the CEO of Smartling, and we are an AI translation company. So our customers include companies like Apple, IBM, OpenAI, Anthropic, Disney, Pepsi, you name it. Lots of big global enterprises that use us to help create multilingual experiences that their customers love.
Fantastic. So let's talk big picture. You've been around the block a couple of times. You've seen the internet, the cloud, and now the AI revolution up close. What feels the same this time, or what's totally different in your opinion?
Yeah, it's funny. This feels a lot like the late '90s. With the commercialization of the internet. Back then, all the initial investment was in infrastructure, right? Remember telecom, right? We had to do all that, and then and now the investment is in infrastructure, right? So data centers, chips, and building out the models, the AI models. And I think that these technology waves, I've been through at least three of them now, and they tend to follow a similar pattern. First, the infrastructure gets built out, and then business applications, or I should say, not business app, but applications start getting built, right, to take advantage of that new infrastructure. So you can think of an example like Salesforce is a great example, right? So back in the as cloud was being built out, they didn't invent cloud, but they made their application, they made it accessible and transformative for the business users. So I think that the same thing is happening right now. Foundational models are the new infrastructure, but the real value is beginning to get created up the stack. Companies like Smartling that make AI useful, measurable, and ROI driven in real workflows with purpose-built applications is the way I describe it.
Yes, well, if there is a killer app, you certainly have one. So all the hype and excitement around infrastructure is great for geeks like me. I'm fascinated by it. But do you see more and more of the value in AI shifting to the app layer and from the sort of model layer?
Yeah, I do. I think, once again, like if we go back to the commercialization of the internet, I mean, when we were building out our first e-commerce companies, we had to build everything. I mean, there wasn't a Shopify, right? We had to build our own payment systems. We had to build our own CRMs. We had to build our own PIM, like catalogs, everything, right? And then companies come along and they build those purpose-built applications to solve real business problems. And I think that's happening here. We see, as the foundational models, the pace of improvement is slowing, right, on them, and companies now you're beginning to see companies like like Harvey and Cursor and Smartling creating like these applications that solve very specific problems. And so translation is probably one of the top 5 use cases of AI out there, right? We know that it's AI is great at content generation. It's really having a big impact on generating code, and translation is definitely one of those things. And when we look at that impact, our customers are able to translate 3x more content for about 60%. Yeah, about 60% less cost, and 6 times faster than traditional. So that's the impact of AI on translation.
That is fantastic. And what are traditional SaaS companies getting wrong about AI, or what about their approach do you think they're not getting right?
I think that probably one of the big challenges that traditional SaaS companies have, or one of the challenges they have, is mindset. So they tend to, the thinking is typically to, for legacy SaaS company, to bolt AI features onto old workflows. And that doesn't work real great. We've all kind of had that experience. The real opportunity is, and the requirement is, I think you have to rethink the entire experience. What data do you collect? how users interact with the application, how output gets measured. And what that meant for us was really re-architecting Smartling with our AI hub, generating agentic workflows and different ways of integrating to our customers' tech stack. So really completely transforming that experience. And I think that like this was painful. Like we had to redesign our application in order to make it work in this new mode. It wasn't a bolt-on. It was a reimagination of how it works.
Fantastic. And there's, lots of talk about the death of SaaS by AI or the models themselves, which seems pretty overstated, of course. But what are the risks to traditional SaaS models, maybe to your model, not just from competition, but from the models themselves?
Yeah, I think there definitely is a risk. I mean, if you go back to cloud, right? You remember, there's companies like Siebel and Oracle, and they're still, and Oracle obviously is around, very successful, but that was an incredibly painful process for them when that old model of selling software licenses, right, $2 million deal, like was the way they thought of the world, right? Then all of a sudden, companies like Salesforce and HubSpot come along, and they're like, hey, you know what? We're going to charge you per seat per user per month, and this cloud-based, right, not on-prem. Sort of thing. And it was like a complete shift from doing business and the applications and all of that. And I think that the risk is for legacy SaaS companies that don't make that shift, that they will be supplanted by AI first. I'll call them SaaS companies or application. Maybe we'll call them application companies, right? So I don't think that, like, so for example, I do view like GPT, GPT, Anthropic, Claude, all the Gemini. These are all partners of ours. They're tremendous technology, but I do view them as infrastructure rather than applications. They're very good at doing kind of like anything and everything, right? But like in order to get really good at doing something, you have to focus on it.
Oh, really well said. And there's lots of talk in the media and elsewhere on AI successes, but also AI failures, lots of projects not succeeding, lots of trials, experimentation, science projects. You're well past the science project phase. You're in high volume production with who's who in the enterprise. How can enterprise teams make sure their pilots kind of deliver real ROI and not just, headlines or splashy, demos?
Yeah, we're well past that. In fact, it was interesting. Just yesterday, I was checking, and nearly 80% of the translation that we deliver is now powered by AI, right? As of Q3, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. And we're probably one of the fastest growing translation companies in the $30 billion market. So it's not insignificant. I think I see. There's a famous MIT study that recently came out that said that indicated that 95% of enterprise AI projects were failing, right? And I think that one of the problems or one of the reasons for that is that companies tend to have a tendency to treat AI like a science project. Lots and lots of pilots, 20 plus pilots, lots of excitement, but without a specific business outcome in mind. So I do think, and I also do think that, Jack Welch famously said, to outsource, everyone's got a front office. It's always a good idea to outsource your back office to someone's front office, right? And with the AI having the potential to do everything, and by the way, incredible pressure from investors, board of directors, on CEOs to produce results with AI. There's this incredible pressure within enterprises to use AI, right? What I found is that, and we're still early in the cycle, right? So there's not a lot of applications for them to do that. So they're being forced to sort of experiment. I think over the next 24 months, you're going to start seeing, and you are starting to see these really great AI applications coming out that are having huge impacts on their enterprise customers. And you're going to see this migration away from this sort of experimentation to, hey, you know what? That's a great solution. Let's use that. I actually have a funny example of, I actually did this ourselves. We're part of that 95%. I was frustrated with the fact that we didn't have AI for our customer service, right? So someone could type into a chat box and get an answer. I'm like, we're an AI company, let's do this. So I directed my engineering team to build that solution. And 90 days later, we were struggling getting the results we wanted to, and we went out to a customer partner of ours called Intercom, and they have this AI application called Fin for customer service, and it worked great. Plugged it right in, did everything we wanted to do. But that's like sort of my point. Like I was being forced as the CEO to start experimenting and building this stuff internally because there wasn't this available solution. Now these available solutions are starting to pop up, and I think you're going to see enterprises gravitating to those purpose-built applications and really get tremendous results.
Great point. And there's some indication that model innovation is slowing down, or at least, going through a bit of a trough, given the existing technologies. And we've seen this explosion of innovation, but where should B2B software companies focus their energy next as we, consume all these models and get to understand how they work?
Yeah, the models are still improving, albeit at a slower pace, right? So the first iterations were big step changes, and now you're getting into a little bit more of this granularity in terms of improvement. And they're just not improving as quickly as they were before. And so I would stop chasing models, right? Which one's going to be better, and start focusing on building orchestration, right? So as foundational models become more like the cloud, powerful but largely invisible, the real differentiation is how you connect them to solve your customer's problem, your data, and your workflow. So every serious SaaS company should be focusing on building its own AI orchestration layer. We do that ours is called AI Hub, and we use that to route data, select the best model, learn continuously from customer feedback. And I think that companies that will win this decade will be the ones that make AI usable for their customers.
Fantastic. And you have quite a balancing act, it seems, at Smartling. AI innovation on one hand with customer trust, that must be huge, hugely important, and translation quality. How do you think about juggling all those balls when things are moving so fast?
Well, it's critical. When you think about what Smartling does, we're helping them transform their content into global experiences, right? And that's all about brand. And so you can't have missteps, right? You're creating source content, translating it to 15 different languages. You need to know what you just said. You don't have room for hallucination, right? A mistranslation has created many of a brand headache or a customer relationship headache for CEOs around the world. So we take that very seriously. So a big part of what we do is we obviously integrating to the existing tech stack for automation. We automate 99% of our customers' translation. We then build custom trained models for translation for each of the companies. So it matches it, so it contains their translation memory, glossary, style guide, brand voice, right? So if I'm any one of our customers translating to a multitude of different languages, it's going to carry that brand voice in any of those countries and match the tone and style of voice that's required, right? So that's a big part of what we do. But then very importantly, what we do is on the back end of that, the governance. So we've got significant governance policies in place. We have hallucination detection and mitigation. We have automated language quality assurance, so that our customers. Yeah, this is all important. So we translate 7 billion words a year for our customers.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Right. So at extremely high scale and in an automated way, our customers need to be able to rely on us that content is coming out on brand and with very, very high quality.
Fantastic. Well, this isn't a tech deep dive, but I would be curious, maybe you can give us a peek into the future, your roadmap, where things are headed. I can imagine with translation, there's things like real-time audio, real-time video translation, and so many use cases, so many applications. How will this evolve over the next 1 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think right now, if you look at where we are, our customers, as a result of using Smartling AI translation, are able to translate 3x more content for 60% less cost 6 times faster than traditional, right? That's a massive impact right there. Where we see that going over the next 24 months is, like, as you indicated, multimodality, as we call it, right? So that's video, audio, et cetera, added into the traditional use cases. And really think about translation as a service, right? So that's sort of like our end game where users within the enterprise that need to have multilingual content, they're able to create that multilingual content seamlessly within their platforms and be assured of being able to produce on-brand, high-quality, translated and localized content.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I did play with an app that translates, your voice, a consumer app in, 8 different languages, including your lip syncing and your, tonality, your tone of voice. And it was pretty shocking to see. I shared it with friends. One was Hindi, one was French, and they said, "Yeah, it's you. It's me. It's in my voice." I just can't imagine the possibilities. And speaking of possibilities, there's so many startup founders getting into this space, not just your space, but AI. What's your advice to them who's starting, if they want to build an AI app layer company? What are your words of wisdom and guidance?
I think number one is identify a problem that you can fix like by 10x, right? It's got to be like incremental is really tough to do. You want to really have a huge impact. And then when you build that product, make sure that you've got enough TAM, total addressable market. A lot of time, sometimes people are, I always say, are you developing a feature or a product, right? That's one thing. And then B is the total addressable market large enough? In other words, are enough people willing to pay enough money for it that you can create a $200 million business?
Well, great advice, and congratulations on all the success, onwards and upwards. So much more work to be done. Thanks, Bryan.
It was my pleasure. It was great talking with you, Evan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks everyone for listening, watching, checking out our TV show, techimpact.tv, now on Bloomberg and Fox Business. Thanks, Bryan. Thanks, everyone.